Welcome, Hudson Valley. This is Conor Walsh, host of In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. This week on In Touch, we speak with Malachy Silva, head coach and owner of Midtown Jiu Jitsu in Kingston. Malachy and I discuss what sets Jiu Jitsu apart from other popular forms of martial arts, why it's an important practical skill to learn for self-defense, and how the sport fosters an encouraging and competitive community. We invite you to listen to a previously recorded conversation between Malachy and myself here on In Touch. I'm so proud to announce that In Touch has received another 2 Excellence in Broadcasting Awards from the New York State Broadcasting Association for 2024. In Touch received the award for Outstanding Public Affairs Program or Series for the second year in a row. Not just that, but In Touch also received the award for Outstanding Editorial/Commentary. This recognition would not be possible without all of our phenomenal guests that we learn from and grow with every single week, and of course, you, the listener. Whether you've been listening for a while or you just found us, thank you for taking part in the conversation and staying in touch with what's going on in the Hudson Valley. Because of the awesome success of In Touch over the last year, we are expanding. We're launching a new spin-off series under the In Touch umbrella called Townsquare Spotlight. These spotlights focus on amazing celebrities and leaders passing through the Hudson Valley who are making an impact in pop culture. You can check out our latest spotlights wherever you listen to In Touch. Hello, Hudson Valley. You're listening to another episode of In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. We got a great episode for you guys today, one that I'm excited about and I definitely want to learn more about. Jiu-Jitsu is something that I feel like I hear a lot of when it comes to like action movies and things along those lines, but it's an art form and a study and a way of martial arts that, honestly, I'm not all that familiar with. So I'm really excited to be speaking with this guy today. With us, we have head coach and owner of Midtown Jiu Jitsu, Malachy Silva. Malachy, how are you?
I'm great, Conor. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely happy to have you in here. I think this is a great program that you offer. And before we get into you, before we get into the program, I want to learn a little bit more about Jiu Jitsu. I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there who are familiar with the title of it, but are not sure what exactly it entails. What makes jiu-jitsu, say, different than karate or taekwondo or MMA or something like that?
Yeah, so as you sort of said in the beginning in the intro, jiu-jitsu is starting to be more prevalent in the mainstream, mainly because of the UFC, Ultimate Fighting Championship, where we see jiu-jitsu, which I'll talk about more in a second, really dominating once the fight goes to the ground. But also in action movies these days, John Wick has had some submissions from jiu-jitsu included in it. And so we're starting to see it more prevalently in the mainstream action movies and things like this, as well as a lot of actors and stuff doing it. And essentially what it is submission grappling. So using pins and pressure, etc., to control somebody on the ground, on the mat. We train on a mat in the gym. It's not pavement or something, and submit them. So that includes starting from the feet, using wrestling techniques and judo techniques, and then once on the ground, using jiu-jitsu, as well as some fundamentals of wrestling and judo to pin and submit people.
Gotcha. So to the uninitiated, it probably has a lot more ties to the wrestling realm than it does to something like karate or something that somebody might think otherwise that it's more connected to.
Correct. Yeah, it's really more tied to wrestling, especially modern jiu-jitsu is really leaning into using basic wrestling techniques, the fundamentals of wrestling, I should say, and judo. You know, what I think the benefit of this is, I think karate and taekwondo are awesome venues, especially for children, for discipline and health and mental health. But the benefit of jiu-jitsu is that every class we spar, so every class the kids and adults are wrestling with each other. So you're always experiencing the challenge of wrestling with a partner, the success of wrestling with a partner, and the failure of wrestling with a partner. All of these things really grow character in all ages.
I think that's great, honestly. Yeah, I remember when I was, in 4th grade, I think I did Taekwondo, and we did a lot of the stuff where we're all lined up, and it was great with helping to learn discipline. It was helping to learn moves, help with just overall, body control. But you're right, we didn't get to spar all that much. It wasn't as collaborative as I thought it could have been, or at least not at the stage that I was in. So to hear that here you are every single time, you're collaborating with the other people at the gym, you're learning from, you're working off of each other, and you guys are making each other better through each match. I think that is really, really cool, and I think that's exhilarating as a kid or as an adult. Absolutely. So thank you for sharing that with us, Malachy. So now I want to hear a little bit about you. What got you into jiu-jitsu in the first place, and what's inspired you to, found and create and to coach Midtown Jiu Jitsu?
Yeah, I grew up in the area in Ulster County, born and raised, and in my 20s I was bouncing back and forth between California and New York, and I was boxing. My friend was teaching me boxing. I was into karate a lot as an adult actually as well. He was teaching me a combo one day, and I just could not get it, and I was extremely frustrated. And he was like, "Dude, you should just do jiu-jitsu. It's really more suits your personality." And I was like, "Okay, sure, and I'll give it a try." And I did. Went to the beginners class at like 5 o'clock, and ended up staying till 9 o'clock all night until they kicked me out. And that was kind of that. I was pretty hooked. And I ended up, again, living in California later on, and started to train with a world-renowned teacher named Shawn Williams of the Renzo Gracie lineage. So many people are familiar with Renzo Gracie. He was a great MMA fighter and jiu-jitsu teacher, originally from Brazil, but has a super famous gym in New York City. So Shawn was one of his main students, Shawn and John Danaher, these big names in the sport. So I was very fortunate to have Shawn as a coach from around blue belt through purple belt, and really learn how to teach jiu-jitsu and train jiu-jitsu in a very effective way. He's really renowned as being like the encyclopedia of jiu-jitsu, and an excellent teacher, very clear teaching style. So eventually started to teach under Shawn, and then he moved to Nashville, and some other people bought that gym. And long story short, I started running that gym for them, and then they opened another gym in East LA that was basically my gym, quote unquote, that I opened for them as well, and totally ran. We had a very successful kids, teen, and adult competition team, as well as just a healthy, hobbyist practice as well. By hobbyist, I mean just, people who aren't interested in competing but want to train jiu-jitsu and came to class very consistently. And then I just, I wanted to move back to Ulster County and with my wife and start a family and open my own spot. So that's the long story short of it.
That's really awesome, though. It sounds like you've had a lot of experience with a lot of great people, and that's really cool to be able to hear kind of the lineage of who helped you build this up to now where you are. Before we get into the now, there was something that you mentioned that I'm very curious about, and I'm curious if you have an answer for it. Your friend said jiu-jitsu fits your personality more. Here you were working in boxing and in karate, but saying jiu-jitsu fits your personality, and you tried it, you fell in love with it. Could you try to explain what exactly that means, how it fits your personality more, and what kind of personality that this would attract or be good for?
Yeah, I had a feeling you're going to ask me that. So at that time in my life, I would say my personality was pretty aggressive where I was at that time in my life. So it was healthy for me to really kind of scrap it out with people and get down. That was where I was personally. But as I've grown as a person and as a teacher and a gym owner and coach, I think that jiu-jitsu is really unique in that it appeals to physical athletes, who are just athletes, period, athletic people, because of the physical challenge of it. It's cardiovascularly pretty challenging and exciting. It appeals to people who are competitive because of the, easy to win, easy to lose nature of it. But it also really appeals to artistically minded people because it's really a 360-degree art form where, you can be upside down, you can be right side up, you can be sideways, left, right, very kind of like yoga and gymnastics elements to it, as well as mathematically minded people. So jiu-jitsu in its essence is physics. It's using levers and fulcrums to move the body, off balance the body, as well as potentially break the body. That's not what we do in class. We tap and everyone is very safe. But that's, that would be the ultimate goal in a self-defense scenario.
Absolutely, and definitely want to get into the self-defense in a little bit. I'm glad that you broke that down for us. I appreciate it. And as somebody who,
Sure.
again, is uninitiated, I would feel like this would also need to have like a lot of control and balance. As you said, like a lot of physics go into this. Wouldn't you say is like, as observing this, it seems like something that you need to have a lot of self-control over your mind, over your body, and just having that overall balance. Would you agree with that statement?
Yes, but I think that the physical nature of it, and especially hearing me right now, people might hear me saying words like aggression and submissions and breaking the body and things like this. It's intimidating, but especially at my gym, there's an extremely high emphasis on technique and safety. So basically, my creed as far as safety goes is safety, technique, intensity.
Yeah.
Meaning safety is always first. Building your technique safety and technique are extremely paired together. We want to be good at technique, and then as the student grows in technical proficiency and therefore safety, then the intensity can come later with appropriate training partners. But I'm always, on the lookout. My students, even now, my early students at this gym, know to look out for each other, to look out for newer people and kind of embrace them and take care of them. If you're a not athletic person or you think your balance isn't good or something like that, this is a great way to improve all those elements of your life. I've seen people who are, not athletes at all come in and be extremely good at jiu-jitsu. So it's really got something for everybody in it.
That's amazing. I really love hearing that. And technique, the way that you describe technique, I think that was along the lines of what I was trying to go for, but I couldn't necessarily verbally express it. I love that. And I love the communal nature that y'all have to be able to build each other up. I think that's great. Again, you're listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. We're speaking with Malachy Silva, the head coach and owner of Midtown Jiu Jitsu. We've been talking about what sets Jiu Jitsu apart as a martial art, and of course, his story, how it has led him from, growing up here in the Hudson Valley in Ulster County, traveling all over the place, learning Jiu Jitsu, and now he's back here in the Hudson Valley with a new gym, Midtown Jiu Jitsu in Kingston. Now, Malachy, tell us about this new gym. Tell us about it, what it's like there in Kingston, what it's like to be back, and what you're offering there.
Yeah, first of all, I'm just so grateful to be back in Ulster County where, growing up here was amazing for me as a child and teenager. I think that there's a lot of just the community of, I grew up in Stone Ridge, but the general community in Ulster County is very welcoming and supportive of young athletes and particularly in Kingston, young athletes, but all, young creative people. I think it's a very safe and positive place for children to grow up and adults to live. So, yeah, the gym is located at 635 Broadway in the old bank there, if people are familiar, about a block from UPAC Theater. We offer classes. We have 3 different age groups for children. Those groups are ages 4 and 5, ages 6 to 9, and ages 10 to 17. And then we have adult classes as well. We have a women's class. We're just about to start a beginner's course for people who are maybe a little, really want that beginner approach. That'll be a 8-session class for 4 weeks. And then we have our all levels class, which everyone is welcome to. As I previously mentioned, technique is extremely high on my priority list. So, we're learning very clean, good, modern jiu-jitsu. And always focusing on the fundamentals. So you're always going to learn something basic, tried and true in class, as well as some maybe more exciting techniques as well.
I think that sounds so cool. It sounds like a great, fun and challenging exercise for people of all ages. But something that you mentioned earlier, of course, the practical side of it with self-defense. Could you go into why this would be good to have as a self-defense mechanism for anybody, whether it's on the street or however something comes up? Why is it good to be able to know jiu-jitsu to defend oneself in any kind of situation?
Yeah, I don't know the exact stat for this, but the majority of altercations end up on the ground. When that happens, if you don't have some sort of grappling skill, you're in danger. You know, it's very difficult to escape from being pinned on the mat or, you know, mounted, smothered, etc. And it's also very easy to escape someone that does not understand this control. And I see this very consistently in my experience teaching, where I'll have, you know, say a 120-pound student, very, you know, small person who's been training 3 to 6 months. A big dude comes in, thinks he's tough, you know, tries to smother them, and they easily escape, jump on their back, and strangle them, you know, immediately. So it's in a street altercation or, you know, home defense thing, God forbid.
Yeah.
Of course, if, you know, you get hit in the head, that's not good. But if you're able to get hands on people and you understand the fundamentals of jiu-jitsu, you're going to be in really good shape. And I have, you know, students who have had personal experience with this sort of thing and come out on the right end because they were consistently training jiu-jitsu.
Wow, that's kind of crazy to think.
Yeah.
Like, here it is like when it actually has to be used. That's kind of scary. It's one of those things you hope you never have to use it, but it's a good thing to have in your back pocket. Kind of like the saying, rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener at war.
Exactly, yeah. And, you know, and it's like, and many good teachers will say the same thing, like, you know, a weekend self-defense course is a nice thing to do, but it's not going to train your muscle memory for that situation. And, you know, but training consistently in jiu-jitsu, and, you know, I would say Muay Thai also, there's other strong martial arts that you could practice for self-defense. Those would be the main two, jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, which is a specific style of kickboxing. But training those things consistently is A, fun. It's B, a great workout. It's C, a community of building event. And D, you're going to know what to do if, you know, your body is going to know what to do if God forbid something happens.
No, that's very, very fair. My girlfriend, she's in criminal justice, and she's had to study and work a number of cases where, you know, somebody gets put into submission. You're right. A lot of these cases, the idea is to get somebody on the ground, get somebody weak, and then you can kind of, quote unquote, dominate or take over. And it's scary when you're in those positions. So to be able to offer something to people in the Hudson Valley, to be able to defend oneself and to be able to, you know, move forward through those situations, that's a powerful thing to be able to offer somebody. So honestly, kudos to you on that. It's really impressive.
Yeah, thank you.
Seriously.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah. So Malachy, obviously the practical stuff with the self-defense, and I'm glad that we got into that. But again, it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be challenging. It's supposed to be competitive, and great way for people to be able to build, grow, and just get stronger as a person and physically, of course. And one thing's for sure, as you said, growing up in Ulster County, it's a great place for people to express themselves, great for art, great for athletes, and you're trying to make sure that that's possible for people growing up in this area. I know you have definitely affordable prices for a number of your programs. I was also reading that you have a number of scholarships that you also offer for those who need help with that. Would you mind going into some of the offers that you have?
Yeah, absolutely. So, really, we have one price for adult and youth classes, which is $149 a month for unlimited classes. So you come as much as you want. You know, there's no sign-up fee or anything like that. It's just a month-to-month thing. And then, yes, for families in need, or for children, I should say, so ages 18 and under, we do have a scholarship program. And if, you know, somebody listening to this, they may need assistance in paying for their child, just talk to me when you get in contact with the gym, and just bring that up to me when we initially meet, or we text over cell or whatever it is. And I'm happy to talk to people in more detail about that. And that program will be expanding in next year as well. So that's a pretty exciting thing that we have going on, you know, expanding it toward at-risk youth and foster care programs, et cetera.
Oh, wow.
As the gym grows.
Wow. That's
and I
really
just
cool.
want to say that all of that is possible because of generous contributions from organizations within, particularly Kingston, but Ulster and Dutchess County, you know, supporting the sports and kids in the area. So thank you to them.
Big thank you to them. Seriously, that is huge. And to be able to offer this outlet to everybody, I think that's great.
Also, we just also have right now, it's going to be starting October 21st. We have a 4-week beginners program for adults. That'll be 2 nights a week, Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m., and that'll be $100. And I mentioned it earlier in the interview, but it'll be a very basic course. And you know, I would just say fundamental over basic, really. And the central themes of that course will be escaping and attacking from the main pins of jiu-jitsu, which is side control, where you're pinned like a wrestling pin on somebody, back where you're behind somebody, and mount where you're on top of somebody. So these are extremely common positions in the sport of jiu-jitsu, but as well as self-defense scenarios. So, and that's $100 for that session.
For those who are interested in checking any of this out, learning more about Midtown Jiu Jitsu, yourself, and the different programs that you have, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so our website is midtownjj.com. Our Instagram is at midtownjj, so same Instagram, same website. My wife and I run all of that, so if you contact us, you're talking to us. You're not talking to a bot or somebody that doesn't care. We do everything in-house, and the gym's address is 635 Broadway in Kingston, and the phone number is 510-418-9583. So you can call or text anytime, and we'll set you up. We also offer 2 free trial classes, so you can come check it out for yourself or your child. You're welcome to observe at first if you're not comfortable jumping on the mat. It's all good.
Amazing. And, of course, we'll have all the links and information in the description of this episode so you don't have to hunt too far for it. Malachy, thank you so much for being on this episode of In Touch. I think it's great. Before we completely wrap up, do you have any last little nugget about jiu-jitsu, about martial arts, about any kind of training for those listening here in the Hudson Valley?
Yeah, I would just say if there's any part of yourself that is interested in this, come check us out, or even, if you're not local to Kingston, check out a gym in the area, because it's a really rewarding thing to participate in. It can be scary to start, but most gyms, like I said about my own gym, they'll let you come in and watch. They'll offer you a class, and I've seen it really change many people's lives, from children to adults to veterans to it's the list goes on. It's really a quite beneficial thing to participate in.
Amazing. And one last thing, as we were talking about before with, as you said, you were being careful about the words like aggression and submission and all that, and to somebody who's uninitiated to it might be like, oh, this is a lot. Is there any kind of stigma that you kind of want to break down when it comes to the sport and the martial art of jiu-jitsu? Because based on this, it sounds like it's all about technique. There's a lot of brotherhood. There's a lot of community, and it's just a great challenge for anybody. Do you have anything that you want to say against any kind of stigma there might be?
I think the only thing that I really didn't say, Conor, is that the sport is really growing in the female arena as well, as is the sport of wrestling growing for females. So if you are a woman and you're interested in that's, being in a room full of sweaty men or training with a big guy that's not unsafe, if that's intimidating to you, I really highly recommend that you come check us out. We have a growing women's team or group of women in our gym, but also a women's competition team growing. We offer a women's class, and we keep everybody safe, and we're very grateful to have females in the gym, but really people of all walks of life. We want to get as many people in experiencing the sport, and growing from it, and growing the culture of our school and the community as we can.
Beautiful, man. I think that's great. I'm glad that you got the door open to everybody. I'm happy to hear that it's growing. I'm happy to hear it's such a good outlet for everybody. I think it's so worth it, and I think it's worth checking it out. So if any of you guys who are listening that are interested in this, or you have any curiosity, check out the links in the description. And as Malachy said, hit them up. Watch it. If you're not up for being there on the mat at the first go, just see what it's all about. I think it's going to be so worth it for you. If you have just the slightest interest, I think it will be great. Malachy, thank you so much for being here on In Touch. I think you are doing great work in the community. I can't wait to hear more about how things expand, and hopefully we can have you on again in the near future.
My pleasure, Conor. Thanks so much for doing this and having me on and asking good questions, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. This has been this week's edition of In Touch, the award-winning public affairs and issues program that runs across Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley radio stations. We want to thank Malachy Silva for being on this episode. For more on Midtown Jiu Jitsu, visit midtownjj.com. Of course, all links and information can be found in the description of this episode. Whether you've been listening for a while or you just joined us, thank you. You can find In Touch episodes new and old on your favorite streaming services like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. That and listen on demand with your Townsquare radio station mobile app. Of course, you can still find all articles and audio under the In Touch tab on this radio station's app and website. And don't forget, we're also on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at InTouch_HV. I've been your host, Conor Walsh. Until next time, stay curious, keep an open mind, and as always, I'm glad we get to spend some time